Hi guys, welcome to our channel. This is Linda.
And I'm Vicky.
And we are partners in crime. Today we are going to talk about Suzanne Morphew. There isn't much on her. I did do a little bit of reading up on it, and I listened to a video. There was a psychic. Her YouTube channel is Blind Spot, and I just wanted to give you some information as far as what she was saying. She was all over the place. It was really hard to understand what she was saying, but basically she was saying that Suzanne was giving her this information, and whenever you hear psychics, it's kind of choppy as far as the information they're giving you, so they kind of try to piece it together. But as far as the 4th of July weekend, the CBI, which is the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, spokesperson said there were no searches over the weekend, and Suzanne Morphew, here's a curious thing, Suzanne Morphew is not on the FBI list of missing persons yet. So, I mean, she's been missing for over 2 months, and well, tomorrow it'll be 2 months, and she's not listed on the missing persons yet.
So the FBI is not following up on this case?
Or maybe they know something we don't. That's what I would think, that if they're not listed as a missing person, could it be because they know what happened?
I did hear just a brief interview with one of the police who was investigating. And he started to say they were investigating the disappearance, and then he corrected himself really quickly.
Okay.
And said a missing person instead of disappearance. I don't know what the difference is, but
right.
Apparently it meant something to him.
Right. On June 10th, they were canvassing the Salida community, the neighborhood which they lived in. And then CBI, there was a journalist that asked the CBI about what was going on, and he did say there were no arrests. No arrests have been made. Suzanne has not been located, and the family is cooperating. That's all they said in their statement. Early on in the investigation, it just says nephew Trevor Noel. We don't know if this is Suzanne's nephew or if it's Barry's nephew. He's really trying to say Barry's a great guy and all that kind of thing. So they don't really specify if he is Suzanne's or Barry's nephew. So that makes you kind of wonder. But he did say that Suzanne's bike was found on Mother's Day. But then the police aren't really saying that they found a bike either. So,
or the condition of the bike.
Right. So we really don't know what's going on in that. And then there was, I think there was a YouTube channel, or no, it wasn't a YouTube channel. There was either a Facebook post or something from this person that said they were a family member, and they said that someone was arrested. Well, there were no arrests. So this person, and he was saying how wonderful Barry was, and it couldn't have been Barry, and all that kind of thing. So, I don't know, this person, could it have been Barry acting like it was a family member, trying to deflect the,
did you see the interview?
Everything off of him?
The interview with Barry, when he got on and was pleading for his wife to come back? Or,
yeah.
Oh, and he mentioned a lot about kidnappers.
Yeah, on the post.
Anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you. No questions asked. However much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you, and I want you back so bad.
And he said, whatever it took, no matter how much. So it makes me think, what does he know? Was she kidnapped?
Well, that's the thing.
Something for money? And it was a very short video. And it wasn't the kind of video where there's a reporter who would be asking him questions.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in control.
Right.
He just did the whole interview. What was even an interview? The whole.
It was a post on Facebook.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah.
a video.
Yes, it
that,
was.
that he did.
Yes.
And we miss you so much. I want to have you back. And
Yeah, and somebody said that he kept shaking his
yeah,
head the
shaking
whole
his
time.
head no.
So,
Yes, I want to have you back.
that kind of makes it look like it wasn't really. Yeah, people, when they're looking at the way people react in their body language, it kind of shows that he probably wasn't really
it looks pretty
telling the
bad
truth.
for Barry because.
And there really isn't much to go on as far as what the authorities are putting out there for this.
Mm-hmm.
There is an interview with this John Schmitz, and he was talking about, he worked in Indiana, he was a contractor, a mason, and Barry was a landscaper, and they were working on this big project, and how he had an altercation with Barry. He just called him a big hothead. So I might post a little bit of that video on here so you could see what he's talking about. But
what I saw that day in this guy's eyes was nothing but evil. I mean, he was just so out of control, and he had been a bully to the electricians.
Wow.
And I just felt like, wow. I saw this story come across my feed this morning, and I saw that last name, and I saw Indiana, and I saw Colorado, and I knew that he had moved out there. And then when I saw what this was about, it just made my stomach turn. But I've not seen that kind of evil in somebody's eyes, but only a few times in my life.
Wow.
And when I saw this story, I just thought to myself that this is not good. So, and I know people are wanting to know more and more about this, and I don't want people to jump to conclusions. And
right. Well, what did it seem like? How did that come about? Where you got in the scuffle there? Like, what happened?
Okay, so he was not scheduled to be on the job for 3 days. We were finishing up the very last part, the dumpster enclosure of this building, and we had our scaffold in his way, and I had my guys there taking the scaffold down, and he came around, and I was getting ready to go to another job to get some supplies, and he came around and he threw my guys' tools out in the road and verbally assaulted them just after he had verbally assaulted the electricians, and my guys came and got me. I came back, I talked to him, and he was just unruly. So I was going to get the superintendent, and he started yelling at me and came over and body bumped me. And I'm like, I just backed up, and I went to try to find the superintendent. I could not find him. I said, you know what? I'm not leaving my guys back with this guy. I'm going to go get our scaffold out of the way. We're almost done. I'm moving on. And while I was taking one of the braces off, he came and blindsided me and pushed me down. And then I got back up, and then I took care of, I stopped him and put him in a headlock and pushed him up against the wall.
apparently, Barry was there either 3 days or 3 weeks early. He shouldn't even have been there, and he was getting all mad that John's crew had his stuff. So he was freaking out on John's crew. And then John ultimately had to put him in a headlock to stop him because he was going after him. So, that's just the kind of guy he is. I did watch something. There was a psychic, like I said, on the Blind Spot channel, and she doesn't give her name, but I kind of want to give you some highlights as far as what she was saying. Maybe you can take something away from it. So she said some of these are contradicting other statements. So she said Suzanne told her she died around May 15th, which would have been after Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. But nobody saw her, and so that was a little strange. Maybe she meant April 15th. but then she said she died before Mother's Day, so maybe she just got the month wrong, and it was April 15th. She was saying that Suzanne said something about a letter, and it was very difficult to read, meaning it was, a hard thing for her to take. So, and then she also said that her husband and a girlfriend were responsible. So, and she said something about an interrupted marriage. It interrupted the marriage. So, this leads us to believe that if this is true, that there was a girlfriend in the picture, and Barry, it might have been an altercation between them regarding this.
Well, they said that Barry was away when she was missing, and that a neighbor is the one who reported her missing.
Right.
And I think the kids called
The neighbor.
because they couldn't get hold of their mother.
Right. But he could have done something before he went away.
Yes.
And if their daughters weren't there for a number of days, it could have happened before.
And he sent them on some kind of camping trip.
Yeah. Okay. He did send
He
them on a
sent them.
camping trip.
Mhm.
So, and then she also said something about Barry was planning on moving in with his girlfriend. And then she said something about baby crying. There's baby crying. I'm thinking, is it the daughters crying because she's not there? Or is this woman pregnant? And she said something about Suzanne was going to talk to her pastor or priest or something. So maybe he was told that she was going to tell people about this. She said that Barry had many affairs, and that there were 4 names that she brought up as Sandy, Nicole, Kylie, and also Taylor. So these were the 4 names that this psychic said Suzanne was bringing to her. Suzanne said there was a heated or violent conversation, and then Suzanne kept saying something about temperature. So maybe heated argument, that kind of thing. She said something about being chased and a closet. And then she said it was also a quick death, and that her body was clipped.
Clip?
So yes, and then a bottle was mentioned too. So she kept saying her body was clipped. So whatever that means. She said she was buried in Salida, and then this name Landon kept coming through. She's not sure if it was Landon's a person or Landon is a place. But she did say her ashes were scattered in different places, or not necessarily scattered, but might be in different places. And she mentioned something about being deformed. So could that have happened when this altercation took place?
It would be neat if the police could confirm some of these things that the psychic was saying. So
she mentioned something about choking. She also said something weird, and she said something about being in different places and inside bricks, and that are up high, and there might be a creek nearby. So could he builds stone walls and all that kind of stuff because he's a landscaper? Maybe, he knows enough about where to put her. You scatter it, you put it inside something so people can't find it.
well,
I don't know.
but apparently they seem to be pretty well off financially. And their home that they're living in was over $1 million home.
Right.
The last home they sold for
In
almost
Indiana.
$1 million. And please let me know. I might be not knowing enough about landscaping, but
Could you make that much
can
money?
you? Really, can you Or was he involved in other things too? I don't know. And if there some kind of a dispute among them, between them, more than likely it has a lot to do with money.
It could, yeah.
If they have that much.
Because she
And
did
there's a
mention
divorce.
something about life insurance, but how much life insurance could she really have had? And if he has all this money anyway, something I'm curious about is she had a foundation. She had the Suzanne Morphew Foundation. I don't have the exact name, I apologize, in Indiana. When you look at the documents, it doesn't specify what they are giving this money to. Like, there isn't any specific charity like cancer or diabetes or anything like that, something specific that you would have a foundation for. And I thought I heard that she did have breast cancer years ago, so you would think that maybe it would be a breast cancer foundation or something, but there's nothing specific. And it was her and Barry listed on the documents.
They didn't give any information about how valuable, what kind of money was in the
No, and I don't know if
foundation?
these were the initial documents. And then they, because they moved to Colorado, they moved all of that over, the foundation over to Colorado. Maybe he has some crazy business dealings as well. So if he's that rich, maybe he's, I don't know, I'm just speculating here, but I feel like the foundation has something to do with the wealth and all that kind of stuff. So there might be other factors going on. Could it have been that she just found out about what he was using the foundation for? There's so many different
Here you go
avenues
again.
that they can pursue.
Yeah. And again, this law enforcement is being so tight-lipped. They're not giving anything.
Right.
There's no information.
Yeah, the psychic did say that Suzanne kind of told her that the FBI found something in June. That there was something important found in June. So who knows? Once they give us the information that they have, and if they found something important in June, then we'll know that she probably did get some of this information from Suzanne. It's just really hard with psychics, and like I said, she was all over the place. It was hard to kind of take notes on based on what she was saying, so I was just trying to figure out how to piece this together for you. Again, this could all be just
Right, you
nothing.
might take it with a grain of salt.
You know,
maybe, to
it makes
see.
sense because we can't find her. So who knows? But I thought these were kind of interesting things to put out there. And again, if it winds up that some of this stuff is correct and there's it gets validated, then
It would be neat to see if anybody else has psychic abilities out there
yeah,
to kind of comment on what you see,
right.
especially compared to what this person might be seeing. And it was what, blind spot? Is that what it
Blind
was?
spot, yes.
So it'd be interesting
Yeah,
to see.
that's the YouTube channel. So if you want to check it out, she has that on there. Yes, it could be very possible that she was killed before June 10th.
Yeah,
The girls were away.
May 10th.
May 10th, I apologize. The girls were away. Barry did what he did and then went to, I think he went to somewhere in Colorado.
Was it Denver?
I don't know.
I thought it was,
He went somewhere in Colorado. It was like 2 hours away, I believe.
Yeah, I thought
So
it was Denver.
it is quite possible to take care of things here and then go and be seen somewhere else, which that's a good thing to do when you,
It's an alibi, yeah.
when you do something to someone. So, what that thing that they found, the personal item that they found, I don't know what that is. Again, it was never verified that her bike was found. Or they thought it was planted, and that's why they don't really talk about it. it could be something like that. The house is just gorgeous. I'll post a picture of the house as well. Like, here's a photo of the Morphew home in Colorado. And the next photo is a picture of the personal item and where it was found in relation to the home. And, you know, obviously we don't hear from them either, which, you know, that's totally understandable because these kids are going through a lot. You know.
Well, I guess as information comes out, we'll certainly bring that to you when we know more.
Yep, we'll just do our research and, yeah, we'll figure out, you know, I'll try to find as much as I can. That's why, even though this is a psychic that I watched, you know, you never know. You just never know. So I just thought I'd put that out there and see, because there might be some good information.
Could be.
So.
Okay, so let's start about today. CBI has told me that they're done searching the property at the Morphew home, which is in Maysville, which is about 15 minutes away from Salida. And they cleared the property. They told me there's been no new updates and no arrests, and still they're still searching for Suzanne. Bottom line, they told me it still remains an active and open investigation. They haven't ruled out a suspect or a person of interest right now, and they are still, you know, going through all types of scenarios. I thought the Chaffee County Sheriff sent a powerful message yesterday in his press release that he sent out. Let me just read it real quick to you guys if you didn't already read it. He said, quote, "This case remains very active as more than a dozen investigators are aggressively working this case on a daily basis. And until we determine what happened to Suzanne, we can't discount any scenario or formally eliminate anyone from suspicion." Again, there's been no arrests, no suspects been named at all. Again, Suzanne Morphew, she went missing on May 10th, Mother's Day, and it sounds like the neighbor called it in to authorities that she just never returned home from a bike ride. So it's been 2 months since her disappearance, and it's been 41 days since the investigators have released the home back to the family and decided to come back yesterday. As far as why they decided to go back to the home, the investigators wouldn't disclose that information. It's still, again, a very active and an ongoing investigation. I would love to talk to anyone who was friends with Suzanne Morphew in Salida or Maysville, anyone that went to the gym with her or church friends. I have spoken with a couple of Barry's friends and acquaintances and people that Barry worked for. But I'm still trying to, you know, talk with Suzanne's friends and family. I did have been in an email exchange with the Mormon family, which is Suzanne's side of the family, and I can just read a clip or real quick what they said. It just says, "She's with us every hour of every day. They're thinking about her." So, but they would not go and do an interview with me or really send me a statement. I know people have asked me, you know, what is Suzanne's side of the family talking about, but they have kind of been told by law enforcement not to say anything really. So let's talk about the search yesterday. All we know is that FBI agents, as well as Chaffee County Sheriff's investigators, as well as CBI, were there at the property searching. Again, we don't know what they were searching for, why they were there, what made them decide to come back after 41 days of giving the property back to the family. They gave the property back to the family on May 26th. So this investigator also, he's had 17 years at the Pueblo County Sheriff, as the Pueblo County Sheriff, and then he's a former fountain chief for 18 months. And so I asked him, how is the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office? And he said they're respectable among law enforcement around Colorado, and he believes that they are working really hard to solve this case, to find out, what happened to Suzanne. He did tell me, though, he hasn't met the new sheriff, Sheriff John Sweezy, but he's worked with previous sheriffs in Chaffee County. He said that I asked him about the dogs and the search efforts at the very beginning. I said, is that typical that they were to have search dogs immediately? And he said, yeah, it's typical in this case because, one, it involves the outdoors and the terrain that it is. And also because it possibly could have happened outside because she was on a bike ride. And so he talked about the different dogs. So typically they say they use cadaver dogs, any type of airborne scent that they believe is connected to Suzanne, they'll go after, even if it's a certain direction at all. And then also the bloodhounds, he said, they're obviously kind of what you see in the movies where you take a piece of article of clothing of a person, they sniff it, and then they kind of let the dog go loose in the area to search and sniff. He said, okay, so he said that they would bring in the dogs before bringing anyone else to do a grid search so that it doesn't mess up the dog's scents. And he has not talked directly with anyone involved in this case so far yet. This is Dan Corsentino. He also kind of explained why maybe that they would go back into the home. They retrace their steps, kind of. He talked about how they're looking at, any piece of the building, the home, or any changes in the construction of the home, or, obviously they're illuminating it with different tools and things like that to see if there's any type of material that's different than what you would normally see in the home. Oh, he also talked about how they might have one forensic expert come in, or one type of cadaver dog, or one type of bloodhound, and then the next day they will retrace those steps with a different forensic specialist and a different cadaver dog or a different bloodhound. Someone's asking if there's a hefty life insurance policy on Suzanne. That's a good question. I do not know. That's another question the private investigator also asked too, but I didn't know the answer to that either. They had only dogs that day searching, dogs and drones, and then May 13th, it was CBI, FBI joined the search. They created the tip line. May 14th, items found believed to be of Suzanne, and during the press conference that day, or the next day, so that was Thursday they found the item, and then Friday, May 15th, is when they had their first and only press conference. The sheriff said they had found items, plural, and when we asked what those items were, they wouldn't tell us. And then I asked CBI to confirm, was it one item or was it multiple items? And they said one item. So the CBI corrected the Chaffee County Sheriff, I guess. So the sheriff spoke on May 15th, and he talked about how Highway 50 was closed for most of the day. They searched a 2.5-mile radius or area, and it was near County Road 225 and Highway 50 again, near where that item was found the day before. On Sunday, the Pueblo dive team was out. They searched Fooses Lake, which is really close actually to where Suzanne's home is. And then the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office also requested the surveillance video from May 8th through the 12th. and for people to just hold on to it until they came to them. As far as if those videos have been looked at, I do not know. They have not released that information, and they have not said whether or not they are going to release any of the video, or if they've seen Suzanne in any of the surveillance video. I would love to know that answer. Did they take any cars to search? That they have not said. They won't confirm. They just say it's part of the investigation. Someone's asking if the cameras around their house was working. I would love to know that answer, but I do not know that answer, and the investigators have not released that information. One of the things that the private investigator told me was that, you know, he's worked in law enforcement for so long. He knows a lot of other private investigators, and I don't know if you've seen, but the Tyson Draper video on YouTube when he talked to Barry mentioned that he had a private investigator of his own working the case. And this private investigator I spoke to, he said he was not aware of anyone in Colorado working with Barry. So it must have been someone from another state or something like that that might be working with Barry. I did ask both gentlemen, you know, if they saw his first plea, you know, Barry's first plea, if what they thought of that video. And the friend of Barry said, you know, that's Barry. He just looks like he hasn't gotten sleep in days and is just very concerned about his wife. And the private investigator said, you know, as a cop, he thought it was sincere. Let me see what he specifically said. He said, my perspective is that he came across as a sincere and comes across as a sympathetic husband. He also said he looked somewhat sincere in the video. And the private investigator did not see the Tyson Draper impromptu interview. So yeah, the friend said he is still at the house, and I think he started to get back to work. I think sitting around the house would drive him crazy. The girls have been with him the entire time. But he did say that the youngest daughter did stay with her boyfriend for a week during the house was under investigation. Did Troy or the detective tell you anything you cannot share? There were things off the record that, you know, is going to stay off the record. Someone's asking if there's abandoned cabins around that property. That's a good question. I'm going to reach out to the Chaffee County fire chief again to kind of learn more about that area, that property, as well as, you know, the calls that were leading up to her disappearance that weekend.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.